Welcome to another Inside Lansing, where today's guest is Trustee Dr. Maureen Grady-Perovich. Maureen, thanks for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
And I just want to hop in. We're talking about the doctor part of you, and you have a doctorate in nursing, is that correct?
Yes, a doctorate in nursing practice.
What got you into that?
I wanted to be a nurse since I was way young. And I stayed local. I went to Prairie State College and finished my associate's degree, and then went on to be credentialed in critical care and emergency department. And from there I went on for my bachelor's in nurse practitioner at Purdue. I finished that and said, let's keep going, especially if you want to teach. And then I went and got my master's again at Purdue. And then my doctorate came in the last, 6 years ago. Okay.
So it's fairly new still.
It is. It's fairly new. You're right. For an older person to do that.
Not that old, but you are a professor too, is that correct?
I am. I'm a professor of nursing for Prairie State College in Chicago Heights. So I started there, and I'm now hopefully developing nurses there.
And what do you love about what you do?
When the light bulb turns on in my students' eyes, there's nothing better than when they appear to understand a concept, because it just clicks.
Now, you were also a police and fire commissioner for the Village of Lansing.
Yes, I was.
Before you were a trustee. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure exactly what a commissioner does or anything, so maybe you could give us a little insight into what that role was like.
I was appointed to the Police and Fire Commission by Mayor Podgorski at the time. And what we do is we recruit police and fire officers, and then we are a part of the testing process with oral interviews, written interviews. And these days, they all come with a physical ability testing that they do that's recognized throughout the state and I think throughout the country. I'm part of the interviewing process and hopefully bringing in good officers, whether they be police officers or fire officers.
What was it like working in that role, and how do you think it helps out?
I think at the time I was a police and fire commissioner, the diversity on the Police and Fire Commission was really beneficial to the Village of Lansing. Some of us were older, some of us were younger, some of us had been on the commission for 10 years. I was a newbie. So we got to have different perspectives, and we come from different perspectives. Some were an insurance agent, I was a nurse, we had a former police officer, so we had different perspectives on how we ask the questions.
And that helps out because it allows kind of a checks and balances.
Absolutely, and we had a great commission that we could talk back and forth with each other without fear of, nah, that didn't
Everybody
come out right.
Everybody having a different opinion or anything like that? That's
yes,
great.
And so now the Police and Fire Commission continues to be diverse, but we still have one of our members that was on when I was on, which is Jerry Hartog from the fire department. He's the chairman. I learned a lot. I was blessed to be with those people that were very willing to share their long-term experience with me.
That's great. And we're here to learn a lot about you. And, you know, I mean, we've done a little bit of research, and I could talk about you being a trustee now, but there's even more about you that we don't know. And something is that you used to be a volunteer paramedic here in town.
I was. Back in the day when the paramedic program started, they had to be certified by having a nurse ride with them for their ambulance calls so we could see them start their IVs or do their intubations, etc. And so it started out then that we would spend time in the ambulances. I think one of the days that was most significant was when the village had a Christmas party. We volunteered as paramedics, actual field paramedics, on those evenings so more of our employees could attend the Christmas party. I learned a lot from the men and women on the police and fire, and what's unique about Lansing is their police and fire just melt together and work very well together. That's because they were all police and paramedics and fire paramedics, and they all just clicked. We are very fortunate, and that's why our paramedic program is very strong here in Lansing.
It is one of the strong things about Lansing, and we're always grateful to them and everything that they do.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, switching gears here to talking about you as a trustee, maybe you want to talk a little bit about the role you play as trustee, what you oversee, and what that's kind of like. Okay,
I oversee the youth center and insurance, and I think it was an awesome decision by Mayor Idem to put me on insurance. My background is in healthcare, and I think I brought some information back to that insurance meetings that came from a perspective of, do you even understand what this diagnosis is and how long it may play out
Right.
as far as insurance goes. Our let has been a blessing also in teaching me, nope, we do this, we reserve these monies, we do whatever. And then as far as the youth center goes, I was youth center with Jenna for a year or so, and now it's Anisha, and we're moving forward. We're making a lot of progress at the youth center and having a little bit of fun with it. I'm looking forward to seeing all the renovations that have occurred because of us being closed down
Right.
for these last, so far, 6 weeks, and probably going to be another 4.
And we're in the same building as them, so we do
Yes.
see the changes here. But
Yeah.
yes, they are making changes, and I guess we're looking forward to them as well.
It's a time for change here in Lansing, and we need to take this opportunity with a lot of downtime going on to get stuff done that we wanted to do, but we were so busy doing uptime
Yes.
stuff.
Yes. And why do you think it's important that the role of trustee, or I should say maybe your role as trustee, being overseeing insurance and youth center, why do you think that's important?
I hope that the insurance area and our youth center feels that they can be connected to the village administration through my role. I try and stop by there once a month. I want to hear what's going on. I bring forward some concerns, and I watch how they come to fruition. And sometimes when you don't feel like you can tell someone there's a problem, they don't know there's a problem. And it's what you do about that problem. Even if you get back to them and say, we're not going to be able to do this, but we think we can do that, and kind of meet in the middle. And we're very fortunate that our administration here in Lansing listens to us and to the department heads.
So you'd see it as like kind of a problem-solving position?
Yeah. Sometimes you don't know where to go with it, and sometimes I don't know where to go with it. And I can reach out to, Village Administrator Podgorski and ask him, what do I do with this? And he'll tell me, I got this. Okay. And he gets it going.
Now, something else that people may not know that you're involved in, something that you're very passionate about, is the Honor Flight program. Some may not even know what the Honor Flight program is. I know what it is, but I'd like to hear what you have to say about it so people could hear a little bit about that program. It's
the coolest thing in the whole wide world. I started out working with them when they were only taking World War II veterans. So that was, cheapers, 6 years ago at least, maybe even 8.
And what do you do there? What is exactly?
I volunteer as a guardian, which means I go on the flights with particular veteran. These are flights from Chicago Midway to Washington, D.C., so that they can see their memorials. We started out visiting particularly the World War II memorial, and now we have taken Korean veterans, and we're now accepting Vietnam-era veterans. And so we go to all those memorials and let them see them sometimes for the first time. Sometimes, particularly World War II men and women, hadn't been on an airplane since they were in the military. And so we as guardians, we're their right hand throughout the trip. So if they need a soda break or they want to go walk over and see something, we're right with them. I've also flown as a medical guardian with my background in emergency nursing. I still had a veteran that I was responsible for, but we were also on call in case anything would happen on any flight.
Okay.
And we've been very fortunate. One of my flights, I had a 102-year-old gentleman on the flight, and we've never left a veteran in Washington, D.C. We've brought them all back home.
Why do you enjoy doing this?
You know what? It's my opportunity to give back. When I graduated nursing school, there was nothing going on in the military. I probably would have enlisted, but I don't see myself as playing volleyball in Japan as being something that I'm giving back. So wherever I can reach out and help a veteran, I will. I'm a big supporter of all of them, and I'm a part of our American Legion, and our Legion's very strong in this community. They participate in almost every activity that goes on in the Village of Lansing. And the more we get people to know they're there, the more they participate in what it is we're doing. And anytime we can thank a veteran, we wouldn't have the freedoms we had today, because freedom isn't free. Well said. And we're always grateful to have you here as a trustee and on the show. And one thing I always like to ask the trustees if I get a chance is,
this is a position that you have to go out and, you know, run for. It's something that you have to be passionate about. So I'm just going to ask you straight up, why were you passionate about being a trustee?
I care about my village. And a lot of people ask me, why did I become a trustee when I became a trustee? Well, my husband worked for the village. He was a police officer. He's retired. I did not get involved in the politics of Lansing until after he retired. That's me interjecting into his job, and I just didn't see that as being appropriate. And so when he retired, I started to get more and more involved in what was going on in Lansing. And as you all know, I walk a lot, and that's how I meet a lot of people, and that's how I hear a lot of things or see a lot of things. Lansing is different from the sidewalks than it is from the street as far as driving a car, and the people you meet are just incredible, and they want to know what's going on. And I think the more we can keep them involved in what's going on, the better we're going to be. I'm very thankful for the Lansing Journal and it getting the Village of Lansing involved in all the people knowing what's going on. Fox Point is getting people involved in Lansing. I live here, and I'm staying here, as far as I know anyway, and I want to keep offering what I can to keep it the wonderful village that it is.
Well, Maureen, I'd like to thank you again for being on the show. We look forward to having you on again and look forward to many more years with you as our trustee in this village.
I hope so. I run again in next April. I'm looking forward to it too. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks. And thank you for watching. We'll see you next time on Inside Lansing.